Welcome into another edition of That Betting Show for August 12th, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Severianski. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Right Side VP. Teddy, Antonio Brown is going insane. We'll talk about that a little bit later. The Orioles log a monster Major League Baseball upset over the weekend on Sunday, which we're going to get right to the hot topics here. And as they say on the football field, Teddy, any given Sunday, how about on the baseball diamond? The Orioles listed around plus 400 or more take home the cash on Sunday. Most outlets had those Astros minus 450, even higher. Even stations out of Las Vegas reporting a minus 550. How about this, Teddy? Going through the baseball game, like, ooh, the Orioles look like they're going to knock them off. Then all of a sudden say, you know what? Probably too good to be true as the Astros take the 7-5 lead. But who would have bet this one, Teddy? Rio Ruiz with the walk-off two-run blast, and a monster favorite goes down on Sunday.
Sure. I mean, Houston was as high as minus 550 in Vegas on Sunday at stations, casinos. Most of the books were at minus 500 or higher. Offshore was a little bit lower than that, but still minus 450 just about everywhere. Heck, Houston was minus 280 on the run line, minus a run and a half yesterday. So, yes, it was the single biggest upset in MLB this season from a money line perspective. That being said, be careful with some of the numbers. Luis Severino lost last year to the Royals. They were minus $4 or minus 450. You know, that wasn't a walk-off either. The Severino got bombed in that game by KC. They lost 10-5. And again, depending on where you shopped around, that's going to show up, or where your line tracking is coming from. That's going to show up as a $4 favorite, a minus 390 favorite, a minus 450 favorite. Depends on the tracking. So to say that Houston's only the ninth favorite of minus $4 or greater since 2005, I'll take the over on that number. I'll take it by a wide margin. But when it comes to closing lines at various sports books and how they get tracked, certainly one of the biggest, if not the biggest favorite all year, goes down in flames in walk-off fashion on Sunday.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting to watch. I actually wasn't even paying attention to that line. Teddy was sitting there trying to, get my plays out for the day and take a look, and I was just scrolling through Twitter, and that one caught my eye saying the minus 500. I said, this has to be an absolute error on this end of it, but it wasn't, and it's too good to be true. And to be quite honest, I don't really know how much value you were getting on the Baltimore Orioles at that point, or even on the Houston Astros, depending on which way you were taking it. Adding to a parlay card probably didn't add that much, even if you did have it. Obviously, if you had it the Orioles side, but the opposite way with the Astros, I'm not too sure. But we're going to talk about it a little bit later, Teddy. I'm going to pick your brain on maybe the thoughts and process of a day later when you see that big dog cash, if it has some implications here. But let's talk a little bit of Major League Baseball over the weekend here. We talked about it on Friday, Teddy. We've been talking about this for almost 3 weeks at this point. Here come the Cleveland Indians, and they absolutely caught up. You brought up a good point last week, Teddy, when they were saying some quotes out of the locker room for the Minnesota Twins saying, hey, everything can line up well for us. We could be up 6 games after this series if we play well. Not to be the case. 3-1 series advantage for those Cleveland Indians. They're in a dead heat now, and the Mets finally beaten by the Nationals on Sunday to take a little bit of a step back. And from some of the odds that we talked about, Teddy, as late as last week that weren't changing much, they've really stepped up and changed over the weekend. Now the Nationals sit minus 310 to make the playoffs. The Mets at plus 100. The Cardinals at plus 160. And the biggest free faller over the weekend, Teddy, my disappointing Philadelphia Phillies at plus 350 to get into the playoffs.
Sure, and the team that's not on that list, the San Francisco Giants, were the team that kind of got back on track this weekend against Philadelphia. And your Philadelphia Phillies, I'm sorry, Donnie, they're not a playoff team. They've shown that in 14 different ways this season, and they're showing it again here in August, and they showed it again yesterday with their loss in San Fran. Again, Nats look good. Mets facing the tough schedule. The fact they lost yesterday certainly stands out to me as a concern because they have 21 of their next 24 all against a fellow playoff contender. The team I still got my eye on, and it's not even on this list, that's San Fran, man. When you have Bochy and Mad Bum going for one last run together, wouldn't be surprised if San Fran makes a little bit of noise over the next few weeks in the NL playoff race.
I mean, heck, anybody right now, Teddy, versus the Philadelphia Phillies, outside of Aaron Nola starting, you're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to get guys back on track. You're going to get slump busters back in that lineup. It's all been happening, and even more so with Jake Arrieta on the mound. He'll give you 3 to 4 innings. Yeah, and he'll give up 5 earned runs, and then you get after that bullpen. It's a shame in Philadelphia what is going on here, but thank goodness football's not too far away, and those Philadelphia Eagles are on the horizon. Talking about the NFL, let's go around the train, and this – I couldn't believe it. This story broke a little bit later on Friday as I was actually doing a show on sportsbook.com. Someone said, he's going to retire over his helmet. Who do you think that might be? Antonio Brown. Teddy, if you're sitting there back in Pittsburgh right now, you have to be laughing at yourself saying, you thought it was all Ben Roethlisberger. You thought it was Mike Tomlin's problem. You thought we had a bad locker room. It's amazing some of the issues are coming back. Tom Brady getting his helmet says, hey, you know what? I don't really like it too much, but hey, we'll make it work. We'll see what happens here. So we have the whole Antonio Brown thing sort of as the compound, but also, Jeff, taking a look at the Jets. Tremaine Johnson goes down with an injury. That's a thin secondary, Teddy. We've seen them pop up over the years, heading into camp. You just want to make it to week one healthy. Looks like they're already going to be backtracking here and trying to find some help there.
Sure. And again, when it comes to NFL training camp news and notes, what we try to do here on that betting show is separate stuff that matters from the point spread with stuff that doesn't. All right, Tom Brady adjusting to his new helmet does not matter to the point spread. Antonio Brown being out of the lineups for the Raiders on opening day matters a ton to the point spread. It's definitely something where with a new team and a new situation, and I like the fact that Gruden stuck up for his guy. That matters when it comes to team chemistry. That matters when it comes to team leaders. And for all of this hubbub, Antonio Brown's supposed to be a team leader for the Oakland Raiders this season. Of the savvy vet, a guy who's been around, his ability to get back on the field will have an enormous impact, I would think, on the Raiders season. Again, when you look at Oakland's first 7 games, it's not easy or pretty for the Raiders. They're going to need Antonio Brown. He will matter. Tremaine Johnson matters. As you mentioned, a Jets secondary that's already thin, losing a key guy, and he might be out for a little while. Broncos lose Theo Reddick as running back. In my mind, that's worth exactly 0 to the point spread. Running backs in general are worth 0 to the point spread, unless you're talking about Zeke Elliott or Melvin Gordon or the likes. And, of course, Lane Johnson, now week to week with a knee injury. He's probably going to miss the preseason. Philly, deeper than just about any team in the NFL when it comes to offensive line and defensive line depth. They are really deep. That being said, Lane Johnson's a really good player. If he doesn't get up to speed by the start of the preseason, that might matter when it comes to week 1 against Washington.
No, you're exactly correct. You want all your guys healthy heading in, but also leads me to believe here, Teddy, when you take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles going through the remainder of the preseason without Lane Johnson probably at right tackle, does that maybe give you a little bit more pause about what you're going to send out there of Carson Wentz coming off the injury last year? You certainly don't want any slip-ups there. And Lane Johnson, you're right, one of the better right tackles in the NFL. Something to keep an eye on moving forward. Some of the lines just came out, as Teddy was telling me before the show started, for this week's preseason action. We're going to dip right into tomorrow and get some of those early line movers and shakers. But let's get to some line movers that are taking place today. The single best place on the internet to get those line movers, we all know what it is. It's SBRodds.com. How about this one, Teddy? Did we learn our lesson with Baltimore? Now, this game actually is going to start momentarily at the time that we're filming right now. Will probably be over by the time that this episode does get out. But I wanted to pick Teddy's brain on this. The Orioles open up plus 301 and then sat at plus 282. When we're checking out SBRodds.com, now you're seeing a little bit of a buyback, Teddy. We're seeing the plus 309s, plus 296s, plus 285s out there in the market. When the public sees, or even, anybody sees, a huge dog get a win yesterday, how it affects them the next day, because we're talking about the same team, the Orioles. Oh, big dog yesterday. They won. Can they do it again today and steal that ticket? Teddy, talk about a little bit what bettors might be thinking in this aspect here today.
Well, it's a really good question, and the answer is there's no right answer. Unfortunately, there's no knee-jerk, a team wins as a $4 dog, bang, you bet on them the next day, or bang, you bet them against the next day. The sample size that we've seen isn't big enough. And again, the numbers that you see with the $4 favorites, when you get into that range, some books are at 360, some books are at 440, and a lot of it depends on where you're tracking, which particular books you're using. All that being said, these two teams met last week, and what was it? The Yankees outscored them 32-12 in the 3-game series. They won every game by at least 3 runs or more. The Orioles, who had been 14-14 over a 28-game span before running into the Yankees and the Astros last week and playing better ball, they're also 42-110 in their last 152 road games. They're 90-212 their last 302 games overall. The Yankees are 40-12 their last 52. I'm not in any rush to ask Baltimore to win 2 in a row, stepping up in class. That being said, there's worse bets to make than an Orioles team with momentum, although, again, not a bet I'm going to make. I don't trust Baltimore's pitching at all tonight's ballgame.
Teddy, like parlay cards and all that such, because what's interesting here, and you bring it up from time to time, the better psyche, or, you're only as good as your momentum the next day starting pitcher. Did you think a lot of that weighed in on Sunday? Because we saw, 22 runs go on the board from the Houston Astros, and then that, avalanche effect on Sunday. Verlander's out there now. They might score another 15 runs, and he's not going to give up any runs. Is there any betting psyche that goes into setting those numbers to begin with, or is it just where the market's going to take you and who's going to be betting those plays?
When you're talking about where the numbers are for any given game in any major sport, you're really talking about pure mathematics. You're talking about power rating teams, which is power ratings of individual players and team form and pitchers' power ratings and their current form. But it's all math thrown into the equation. There's no nuance to that number. What bettors do is they create nuance. They say, well, you missed this, you missed that, this stat is misleading, and then we move the markets. But the opening numbers aren't going to have any of that factored into play. It's a pure math equation.
The extra point, Teddy, it's up and good. We're going to talk a little football. No, we're actually not. We're going to talk a little bit of Major League Baseball. Of course, as a 14s are showing up across the board offshore. There are some 13.5s out here at SBRodds.com. Diamondbacks and Rockies. Rockies favored -114 again with a total of 14. You need 15 plus to cash this ticket. Kelly and Lambert on the mound tonight in that thin air.
So the last homestand at Coors. Here are the final scores. 9-1, 9-4, 5-1, 5-4, 6-5, 6-2. Yeah, that's 5-0-1 to the under, including the game that produced 13 because the total was 13.5. All right, what we've seen at Coors is an escalation of totals that within a season, I don't recall ever seeing it, where like the baseline total in Coors was like 11. And now it's like 13.5. And when the bad pitchers are on the mound, it's 14. That's a significant adjustment within one season. And the result is that we've seen unders at Coors of late. All that being said, the markets don't want any part of Kelly. Kelly's had a rough season. He's had a rough start against the rough career stats against the Rockies. Last time he faced them in June, he got bombed 6 runs in 6 innings in an 8-1 loss. The guy hasn't won since June 12th. D-backs 1-8 in his last 9 starts, and Lambert's every bit as bad. The Rockies, he's winless in his last 10 starts, and the Rockies winless in his last 10 starts. It's a Colorado team that's 13-31 their last 44 games. Their starting pitchers have an ERA above 7 during that span, or approaching 7 during that span. I'm not surprised we're seeing totals in this range at Coors, but once you're getting to 2 touchdowns, frankly, you've priced me out of any over. It's under or pass for this better.
Checking out SBRodds.com, Teddy. Boston actually flips to a favorite today. Taking a look at SBRodds.com, Rodriguez and Plesac will be on the mound. Opened up -110 offshore in the favor of the Cleveland Indians, and now we're seeing -114s, -115 show up on the favorite of the Boston Red Sox. If we take a look at a total of 10.5 tonight, Teddy, any decompression coming down here for Cleveland in this one?
Maybe. I mean, look, that was a huge series in Minnesota, and the fact they won that series, maybe there's a little exhale there. Terry Francona, quote, "It was a fun series. I think our players enjoyed it. They're a good team over there. We know that. Now we'll enjoy it for a plane ride, and then we better get ready because Boston will be ready for us when we get home." Although, I mean, the Red Sox found ways to lose again all over the weekend. Big favorites on Saturday, smacked in that ball game. Yesterday, falling apart with the bullpen. Matt Barnes blowing his 7th save of the year, the team's 21st blown save, and they blew through 6 bullpen arms yesterday. But why is the money coming for the Red Sox? Simple. Rodriguez has been a machine for the Red Sox. They're 17-4 in his last 21 starts, not counting the suspended game in KC. They're scoring for him, and he's pitching well enough to keep Boston in game after game. I'm a little bit surprised by this number. Plesac's coming off a great start against the Rangers, 6 shutout innings last time out in that ball game. But Rodriguez has picked up a pretty significant betting bandwagon. Not just this year, the Red Sox have been winning for him. They won big for him last year as well, and the market's showing signs of that.
No, very good. Unheralded pitcher for sure there for Boston. Let's take a look, Teddy. Can lightning strike twice? Watch what you bet right here on SBRodds.com. And that betting show, huge favorite Astros rolling to Chicago this time. The Astros and the White Sox. White Sox taking down a sweet number, Teddy, +230 with a total of 9.5. It's going to be at 8-10 tonight in the windy city of Chicago. Guaranteed rate field. The Astros roll in 77-41. The White Sox 52-64. Greinke takes the man versus the young cat, Dylan Cease.
Yeah, Greinke's quotes are hilarious. And again, this is a guy that not like he hasn't had run support ever in his career. He played in Arizona, got decent run support there, but his quotes following his first start with Houston, I was telling catcher Martin Maldonado that it kind of reminds me of when I was back in Milwaukee, and it seemed like we scored 10 runs a game. It's a good offense, and it's fun to pitch with that going on, but yeah, it's kind of boring. And just trying to stay loose. staying focused while not having anything to do because you're in the dugout waiting to get back on the field and pitch because your team's putting together another big inning. So Greinke's bored out there. He's struggling with his focus. Maybe that's a concern. I don't know if it's that big a concern against a White Sox team. Chicago has played better. They won 6 out of 10, despite getting shut out twice over the weekend by the Oakland A's. The rookie right-hander Dylan Cease, well, he lost 4 in a row, snapped that skid last Tuesday, beat the Tigers, 5 innings, 2-run ball, 7 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Worth noting, though, in this price range, Astros bullpen struggled yesterday. That could be a concern again today, especially if you're laying $3 with Houston on the highway.
Teddy, Washington looks to keep its lead in the wild card race today coming, and maybe a little bit of injury concerns from their end of it's going to be the Reds and the Nationals. Basically a pick-em here with a total of 10. 7:05 start. MLB extra innings be live from Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. Reds 56-60 on the season. The Nationals 62-55. It's a shame. It looks like we're getting some hitting finally from the Reds today that we anticipated earlier in the season. Sometimes when the pressure is off, sometimes those bats come alive. We'll see if they can hold up tonight. DeSclafani versus Fedde tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, you talked about the injuries for Washington. Juan Soto certainly matters. He's a guy, he's been killing it. And he hurt his ankle yesterday. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to play today, maybe out for a little while for Washington. So that is one key bet out of the equation for the Nats. But they got the win. Yes, boy, they needed that win against the Mets yesterday, and they got it. And that matters, after losing the first 2 games of that series. Now you return home off a long road trip with a winning record. That's a positive sign. And, of course, Fedde, you had an awful start 2 starts ago against Atlanta. Give up 9 runs in 3 1/3 or 3 2/3. He responded really well last time out. 6 hits allowed, 6 innings of scoreless ball against San Francisco. DeSclafani's been pretty good, and he's pitched well against Washington. But I do worry about Cincy's mentality today. That series against the Cubs was huge. And they won 2 in a row. They had a chance to win the series yesterday, had a 3-0 lead after 5, and let it all get away in the latter stages. The quote from manager David Bell is a red flag quote to me. Quote, "We have to come out tomorrow and play. That's the only way to bounce back. If you spend time thinking about missed opportunities, it's a losing attitude." I worry about that losing attitude for Cincy tonight, although the markets don't seem to be. Nothing but Reds money in early betting action today.
Late night from PETCO to head off our triple header here on a Monday Major League Baseball. The Rays and the Padres. Padres favored -128. Total of 8.5. 10-10 tonight in MLB extra innings from PETCO Park. The Rays 69-50 on the season. And I had to do a double take of this, Teddy, because the Rays always fly under the radar, especially being in the AL East. 38-22 on the road. That's an amazing number. Padres 55-62 on the season. Only 28-31. Castillo versus Lucchesi tonight on the mound.
And this is a little bit of a head scratcher when it comes to why is this line where it is? You talked about Tampa's road success. 12-3 their last 15 games. 6 straight on the highway, dominating already on this road trip. They've beaten the San Diego the last 7 times they faced them. Padres are 10-17 since the All-Star break. Their next 22 games are all coming against teams that are in playoff contention. It's going to get worse for San Diego. So what are the markets seeing here? Well, we have an opener for the Rays, Diego Castillo, no big deal. Austin Pruitt likely to get the lion's share of the innings for Tampa tonight. And, of course, they won't have a DH. They're playing in an NL Park. I understand all of that. But the market's like Lucchesi today, and manager Andy Green talking about pitching him deeper into the game as well. Quote, "We built a little bit of a culture where 5 innings from the starting pitcher was good enough for the longest time. It's not good enough if you want to be a championship team. You have to have pitchers who pitch deeper into games so your bullpen is not taxed and exhausted. Shouldn't be because they're tired or they're not capable, they're mentally not expecting to pitch deep into the game. There are guys we've told, give us 5 and it'll be good. It's not good enough anymore." Lucchesi hasn't pitched into the 7th since mid-June. They're hoping they get that hint from him tonight.
Segment 4 for us, Teddy, off the mic, as you always like to end the day. And how about this one? Something we don't really talk to that much, and that's PGA Tour golf. Maybe there's a little bit of fight in the FedEx Championship. Now, look, the 4 majors were moved up so they can have this playoff in August without having football come into the realm. But I can't tell you, Teddy, look, I've watched golf in the past. I watched the majors. I've golfed in my life. I couldn't give a damn about the FedEx Cup, but this is a kind of an interesting scenario that's coming up with slow players. There's a video that's been going around with DeChambeau yesterday, taking close to 3 minutes to read an 8-foot putt and then blows the putt anyway. Bruce Koepka's hot about this. This is the latest on the tracking heading into next year, saying you guys got to speed it up here. If anybody that's played golf before and has been in like an outing or just playing golf on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday at your local municipal golf course, it takes a long time because people hang out, read, and are not ready to play ready golf. It was an interesting thing, but, we could probably go out and do a survey. Does anybody know that Koepka, Reed, and McIlroy are 1, 2, 3 in the FedEx standings? Probably not. Most don't even know golf's going on at this point, Teddy, but it's just interesting to see maybe a little fight out of the guys wearing the plaid out there, huh?
I just like the concept of here's this guy, DeChambeau, and he's taken almost 3 minutes. Look, I can make an 8-foot putt. I know I did it because I played putt-putt when we took break in July. And I hit a couple of 8-foot putts in that span. So it's doable. So he's taken 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes to read an 8-foot putt, and then he misses it. It's hilarious. Of course you're going to miss it. There's karma coming back to you. People wonder why golf ratings aren't what they are. Give you a hint. Put a clock on there. People wonder why golf ratings aren't like NFL. Give you a hint. NFL's got a play clock. That might work for golf, too, even if it will offend the purists.
We're always on the clock on That Betting Show, trying to get you out here in less than 20 minutes for all the sports information that you need. Thanks for tuning in for August 12, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Safransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour once again at Right Side VP. Join us tomorrow. We're going to take a look at some of those fresh lines in the preseason. Good luck on your tickets, and join us tomorrow. Thanks again.